After having started film photography a little over a year ago and having started with black and white films, later also developing my own black and white films, I decided earlier this year to also get into color film photography and started this little quest of mine to find my new go-to color film. So after having tried many color films, I think I finally found one that I am very okay with and that I believe I can use in many different situations. What's up everyone, my name is Marcus from DM Photography, and in today's video I'm going to show you and talk a little bit about my new favorite color film, which is the Fuji Pro 400H. The ones who have already followed me throughout the year have seen my beginnings in color film photography when I started off with Kodak Ultramax 400 and later also trying the Kodak Portra 400. I started to get this feeling that that was not enough, and I like the Ultramax a lot. I like it until now. I think it's very underrated in the market. If you have never tried Ultramax 400, I highly recommend you just pick up a roll, shoot it, and see what you think. You can also find in my channel, and I'll leave a video up here, where I shot Ultramax so that you can see some examples. Later I shot Portra for a while, and I think I like the grain. I like the film in its pastel look. I went through Portra 400 and Portra 160. I haven't tried Portra 800 yet, but I was never motivated enough to actually buy a roll of Portra 800. I felt that that will not be my new home. I think it's very warm. I can totally see where I would like to shoot Portra, like in deserts or very warm regions. If I would go to the US, like to Arizona or something, I think this is where I would take the Portra 400. 160 I didn't like, so I own a Leica MD as well. And Portra 160 for me looked like a digital photo. So there is no added value for me, at least, to shoot Portra 160. Portra 400 and Ultramax 400 from Kodak showed me that ISO 400 is the sweet spot that I like. I shot both of those films at box speed, so 400, and later at ISO 200, so overexposed by one stop. I think I like them better if they are slightly overexposed, so if I shoot them at ISO 200, but develop them for ISO 400. But I still was not very satisfied. I also tried Ektachrome. I tried Ektachrome with a break of 6 months in between, so that I gave myself the chance to learn more about color film photography or film photography in general, and to give myself more time to understand the Leica light meter more. So in September, after more than 6 months of having shot my first roll of Ektachrome, I shot my second roll of Ektachrome. I'm still not completely convinced of the film. I can see its high quality. I can see its quality, especially if you're in very controlled environments. The dynamic range is not so great. It has almost no grain. So if you're looking for a film that has basically no grain, that is a very good film. It's still very hard to handle, especially if you're not used to shooting slide film. So then I continued my quest until I found, like I just showed you, the Fuji Professional series, the Pro 400H, which is also a ISO 400 film, which sits exactly in this sweet spot that I really like. And as you've also seen in one of my previous videos, I tried Cinestill 800T, which is an ISO 800 tungsten balanced film for night photography. So that one I love, and that will definitely be my go-to film when I shoot in low light situations, especially if I have a tripod with me. Now during the day, as I just mentioned, Kodak didn't really cut it for me, at least. I know it's always a matter of taste. For me it was just not the right film. So I stumbled across the FujiFilm and I shot 2 rolls. Now I'm going to show you 10 photos that I shot on my first 2 rolls that I shot with Fuji Pro 400H, and I will talk a little bit about the photos and what I really like, especially around this Fujifilm compared to what I've seen with Portra. So let's start with the first shot that really struck me a lot. The blues were so blue. I've never seen this before with any of the other films I've shot. The greens were amazing. I already got the feeling in the browns that something will be going on with Fuji in the reds, which I then later will show you, and I realized myself. I was very fascinated. This photo really pops. It pops like no other film that I've seen before, and it gave me already this confidence that with this film I can do a lot of cool things. In the second shot you see Tatiana. I was mainly interested how the dynamic range is in this situation and also how the skin tones render. And also I zoomed into this photo a lot to see how the grain structure is, also how the film behaves in the shadows, and I was really pleased with the results that I've seen. And the skin tones, as they are a little bit more cool than on Portra, for my personal taste, and I'm saying my personal taste, I like this way more. This shot convinced me that I can also do portrait work with the Fuji Pro 400H. Let's now take a look at the third shot that I took, which is in a train station here in Switzerland, in Olten. I here was now really trying to stress the dynamic range of the film. I wanted to see how does this more dark interior render and the outside where it was very, very bright. And I was also interested in the gray tones of the film, and yeah, also again the shadows. I wanted to learn about the film, so it was more about how this film behaves rather than is this a good composition. So just take this shot as more as a test shot to see what this film really can do. And now let's look at the fourth shot. So earlier I mentioned that I had a suspicion that something was going on with the red tones, and with this shot I got the confirmation. So here we see the cool blue tones, and we see this red brown, and we see brown, and this basically sums it up. So you have a cool look. So it is more bluish than I've seen on Portra, Ultramax or Ektachrome, for example. But for me, this blue looks more realistic, like I have it in my memories. And the same holds for these reds. I think they're a little bit oversaturated. So on the left side, this brown, red, orange was not exactly like this in reality. But when I look at the photo and think of it as the end result after scanning and editing, I think this is how I pictured the scene. And this also started to give me this feeling that with this Portra 400H, I can express myself artistically in the way how I want to express myself artistically with color film. Talking about artistic and artists, let's take a look at the next shot. This is a performer at the Theaterspektakel in August this year. It was the evening when I wanted to try Cinestill 800T for the very first time, and I had to finish this first roll of Fuji 400H, and so this scene gave me the perfect opportunity to see how this ISO 400 rated film works in these more darker conditions. I have a subject that is moving. I don't have a lot of color. And I wanted to see how do the grays of the gravel render, how do his pants and clothes render. They're also dark and cool. But then we have these warm skin tones on top from the feet, which gives this color detail to the shot that I was looking for. When I saw the scans, it really blew me away. So this is one of my favorite shots that I took on my first roll of the Fuji Pro 400H. Let's now take a look at shots from the second roll of Fuji Pro 400H that I shot. I'll take you to Venice now. So in this shot you see Tatiana again in the streets of Venice. I wanted again to see how the skin tones are. The skin tones under a very warm sun in a earthy color looking environment. So we have these old brick buildings, this old Venice, and Tatiana standing there in the middle. And this was for me the shot where I wanted to get to know the red tones and the brown tones of this film. I love this shot. I love how the colors came out, and it once again convinces me that with this film I can do portrait work going forward. Let's now take a look at the next shot, which is a street scene in Venice. I think this scene also brings together the brownish red tones. We have the blues that Fuji is known for, and we have red, we have people, so we can see the skin colors. It was slightly overcast, so we have almost no shadows or shade in the shot. So a very neutral picture. And although it is like this, I think the contrast of Fuji Pro 400H here are beautiful. So definitely also very good film stock for regular street photography. And now comes this shot that is, or was for me, a pivotal moment when looking at my first scans of Fuji Pro 400H. Take a look at this here. This was that revealing shot in Venice. So we see the Venice channel or canal here. We see that blue. It was like the summer afternoon. We have the red on the left side of the shot, which again confirms what Fuji can do in the reds. We already have seen what Fuji can do in the blues. I think this shot brings everything together, and when I have seen it, I think put the final nail in Portra's coffin. So for me now on the Kodak side, I think I will stick with the fun film Kodak Ultramax 400 if I'm up for it. But for my regular work in color film, Pro 400H with this shot showed me what I want to use going forward. Let's now come to the second last shot, which is a boat in the evening sun in Trieste in Italy. Here I was particularly interested in how the warm sun gets rendered in this more cool film that emphasizes on blue. For me, the rust was what I was mostly interested in, how Fuji renders this rust under this warm evening light. And at the same time, I was curious to see what Fuji would potentially do to the blue of the sea in the shot. And I'm really, really happy with this as well. So warm scenes, no problem in my opinion with the Fuji Pro 400H at all. And now off to the final shot, where we see two people sitting in the warm evening sun just next to the boat that I showed you earlier. And it was another try for me of seeing how the colors are in the warm evening light, and at the same time seeing, is this film also good for me when I do regular street photography, like in this case. And I must say also here, it convinces me personally. I like the general tone of the photo and the atmosphere that it gives me. With this, I would like to wrap it up. And yes, I think I found, for me personally, my new go-to favorite color film. If you have not tried this film, the Fuji Pro 400H yet, I would suggest go grab a roll, shoot it, and try to find out how you like it. I personally think it is amazing. I'm really looking forward shooting way more with this film. This video is just my personal opinion on this film, and also me explaining you what I see in the shots that I showed you. It's in no way anything Kodak versus Fuji. For me, have now learned where I can use the Kodak films that I've tried. I also tried Ektar. I didn't talk about Ektar during this video. Ektar is a gorgeous film. When I go into the mountains or want to take photos of nature, I will definitely go with Ektar, especially if the light conditions are okay. Ektar is an ISO 100 film. But I think I see myself for now shooting mostly Fuji Pro 400H. Let me know in the comments below what you think about this film, if you shot it in the past, or what you think about the things that I have told you earlier in this video. Again, please remember this was in no way a scientific test, nor did I want to compare it with Kodak. This was just me explaining to you my journey of how I found this film to be my new favorite film, what convinced me about the film. If you got inspired by this video in trying out this film, have fun shooting it. Let me know how you like it. If you want, you can also share some of your results with me. I hope you learned something today and had fun watching this video. That's it for today, and I'll see you next time.